Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yuki. If it's your first time here, hey you, thank you so much for joining us today. So today's video we're going to be doing a makeup tutorial, of course, and this one is going to be for my beginners. For those that are still struggling with doing their makeup, I'm going to be simplifying the steps and make it as easy to understand as possible. So let's just head right into it. So the first thing that you want to do is to moisturize your skin. No matter the type of skin that you have, either it's oily or dry skin, you always want to make sure that you moisturize before you apply your makeup. And I already did that off camera. That's like the first thing I do when I come out of the shower. And the moisturizer I use is the CeraVe or CeraVe, one of the two. I'm going to have a picture right here so you guys can see it. If you're looking for a moisturizer, that's such a great one, and I think it's for all skin types. So that is already done, but I think I'm going to be starting off with my eyeshadow today. I'm going to be teaching you guys that, of course, and sometimes I like to start off with my eyeshadow, and I think it's great for beginners as well, in case you have fallouts and stuff. It's easy to wipe off before you go ahead and apply your foundation. And to apply that, you want to go ahead and apply a concealer just to serve as a base for your eyeshadow. You just want to apply that all over your lid. We're going to go ahead and blend that out with a beauty sponge. You could also use a makeup brush for this part, but I decided to go in with a beauty sponge today, and this one is from Shein. It's really affordable, and they have like a couple in the pack. I can't remember how many came in the pack, but I know that it was a lot and it was definitely affordable. And I don't think that I've mentioned that all the products that I'm going to be using today are drugstore makeup products. I decided to do this tutorial using drugstore makeup because I wanted it to be really accessible to everybody. You just want to tap and just be patient with it and spread it out gradually. I'm going to move on to the other eye. Do the same thing. You're not dragging, you're just tapping and spreading it out gradually. And I don't think that I've mentioned that you're supposed to put your beauty sponge in water and make sure that it's damp before you use it. You never want to use a dry beauty sponge because it's not just going to work out and you'll be frustrated. You'll be wondering why it's not blending. It's probably because you're trying to use a dry beauty sponge. So you're supposed to soak it in water, allow it to soak up the water, and then you squeeze out all the excess. Take a damp paper towel, do the same thing. Did I say damp paper towel now? Sorry. Take a dry paper towel and also use that to squeeze out all the excess water, and then your beauty sponge is ready for you. So always make sure that you use a damp beauty sponge. So now that is blended into my liking, you're going to go ahead and set the concealer, and for that I'm using the Sacha Buttercup setting powder, and I'm just going to be using this brush to apply that. The link to all the brushes that I use are going to be in my description box. These brushes are from Shein. Shein has really nice brushes and makeup sponges. I'm going to have everything linked in my description box. So we're just going to go ahead and put that brush into the powder, tap off all the excess, and we're going to go ahead and use that to set. But before then, you can already see that we have some creasing. You want to go in smoothing that out before you set it, because if you go ahead and set it like that, you're going to still be able to see those creasing and it's just be a mess. So always make sure that you're smoothing that out first before you go ahead and set. And to set that, you're just going to be tapping like so. Go ahead and do the same on the other side. Blend all that creasing out and keep looking down, because if you look up again, you're going to end up creasing it. So keep your eyes down and just go ahead and tap that into it. The eyeshadow palette I'm using today is the Milani Gilded Gold eyeshadow palette. This is one of my absolute favorite drugstore palettes. This is what we have inside, and as you can see, we have some matte shades in there and some shimmery shades as well. The one that is shimmery is like, as you guys can see, there's shine to it. This one is a shimmery shade. This one is also a shimmery shade. This is a shimmery shade as well. And we have the matte shades as well, which is this one right here, and this one, and this green, and this one as well. You could decide to start with your transition shade, or you could start with the shade on your lid. So I'll probably teach you how to start with your transition shade on this eye and teach you how to start with the color on your lid on this eye. So just because we're beginners, we're going to be doing something really simple today. So for your transition shade, you want to use a matte shade for that. You never really want to use a shimmery shade for that. For your transition shade, you want to make sure you're using something matte so that it's easy to blend and can, you know, move around without looking crazy. So I'm going to be using this brown shade right here. We're going to be using a fluffy brush to apply that. Most of the time there's never really a rule to makeup, because some people would say they prefer, you know, a different type of brush for applying their transition shades, but I like to use this kind of round fluffy brushes that you just want to tap into that, take on as much eyeshadow as you want, and then you tap off all the excess. You can see how much is coming off, just so that you don't have too many fallouts. So let's go ahead and apply that here. You want to go in with tapping motions. You don't want to blend just yet. You just want to pack on the eyeshadow starting at this edge right here. You want to pack that on as much as you can first before you go ahead and blend it out. So keep packing, bring it all the way to the front. I hope you guys can see that. Bring it all the way to the front right here. Take it into your brow bone and bring it back down to the edge right here. So this is what we have so far, and I'm okay with how that looks. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that same setting powder, the Sacha buttercup setting powder that we used earlier. I'm just using a new blending brush. It's also a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to be using that to blend out the edges. You want to go ahead and just go in like twirling motions on your brow bone right here, just to diffuse the edge of that first eyeshadow that you apply. And you guys, this eyeshadow today, we're just going to be using 2 colors. I'm not going to be doing too much because I want to show you guys that you can use 2 colors of eyeshadows and you're good. So yeah, you can go ahead and lift a little bit if you want to. So it looks like I've taken too much of the eyeshadow out on that side. So I'm going back in with a little bit more of the first transition shade that we use, and you're just going to keep applying that lightly right there. And that looks good. So you go back in again with the other blending brush and just soften that a little bit without doing too much. And you want to be really light-handed, you guys, very light-handed with that part. And that's pretty much it. To help the color on the lid show up a little bit more pigmented, I'm going in with my NYX glitter glue. I love to do this right before I apply my shimmery shadows. I just apply a little bit of that. You don't want too much. And I tap it at the back of my hands like so, swirl it in at the back of my hands, and I just go ahead and tap that on the place that I will be applying the shimmery eyeshadow. You don't want too much of this, you guys, just a little bit to help your eyeshadow apply pigmented. So as you guys can see, you can barely even see it. It just makes that place a little bit tacky so you can grip the shimmery eyeshadows well. So now to apply the shadow, I'm going in with a flat eyeshadow brush, as you guys can see, and I think I'm going to be going in with this shade right here, this orangey, is the orange, burnt orange shade that I'll call it, the second one. And you want to do the same thing that you did with the first one. You just tap into that, take on as much eyeshadow as possible, you guys. If your eyeshadow is not coming off as you like, you're probably not using enough, so you want to take on as much as you want and then tap off the excess so that you don't have too much fallout. Then you go ahead and tap that in. All you're doing is just focusing that on your lid, and depending on your eye space, you might not have as much eye space for your lid as mine, but it's also okay to lift it all the way to this area right here if that's the look that you're going for. But if not, you can stop right underneath this brow bone that is right here. If you feel your eyes, you will feel like a brow bone right here. So the color on your lid can stop right under that, or you could decide to take it all the way across right here, but most times I like to stop under my brow bone. Now you see this point where the first and the second eyeshadow meet. You want to go back in and just keep swirling, like kind of going in a blending motion back and forth. And what this is going to do is to make sure that we do not see no lines of demarcation between where the brown shadow started and where the orange eyeshadow meets it. So you keep going back and forth till everything looks well diffused and you can't see no harsh lines. And you can also bring it forward right here and just try to blend everything so that it looks seamless and we really don't see where any of the eyeshadow started. With this one too, you have to be light-handed though. Don't go heavy with the blending, just a little bit. Be very light-handed with it and keep going back and forth till you can no longer see any harsh lines. And that's pretty much it, you guys. So let's go ahead and start with our lead shade right here first, and then we go ahead and use the transition shade. So since we're going to be starting off with the lead shade, we're going to go in with the NYX glitter glue first, and you just want a little bit of that. Like I said, swirl it at the back of your hand, tap that into the lid area, and you can use your fingers or a brush for this part, but I personally like to use my fingers because I feel like it helps me apply and spread it thinly without doing too much. And now we're going to go ahead and apply the eyeshadow. So tapping into your eyeshadow, taking as much as you want, tapping off all the excess. We're going to be mimicking the same thing that we did over here, but starting off with the lid first. So either ways, you could do either one, anyone that works for you. I just want to show you guys that you can start off either ways. Now let's go into the transition shade. Take as much as you want, tap off the excess. You can just go ahead and use that to blend out the edges light-handedly. And then take it all the way out here as well. Take it back in. Now we go ahead and feather the edge of that out. So that's it, you guys. That's pretty much it for the eyeshadow. You can decide to do whichever works for you. If you want to apply the transition shade first, or you want to go ahead and use the lead shade first, you still achieve the same look. So now we're just going to move on, and I'm just going to sharpen the edge of my eyeshadow just because I like that. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I like to do it to also take off the excess shadow that we have on this area. So you just go in with a wipe, and it's wet of course, and then with your fingertips you put your finger in there and then just drag that up this way just to sharpen that area and clean out the eyeshadow that probably we have going on the edge right here. So we're going to move on to lashes, and I don't have any drugstore lashes at the moment. The lashes I have are from AliExpress, so love it, you guys. I've been buying AliExpress lashes for probably 6 or 7 years now, and you could get this pack for maybe like $3, and they're really good lashes, like really good. It could be $3 or $4 and you get all of this. Like, it's supposed to be full obviously, but I use them already. Love it. I'm going to have it linked in the description box. You can skip this step if you don't like lashes, but I personally feel like lashes just elevate your look. No matter how small the eyeshadow that you applied is, you would, you know, it will make it look really good when you apply your lashes. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. To take out the lash, you want to bend the pack this way and just pull the lash out carefully. Depending on the lash and your eyes as well, you could decide to take off maybe a bit of the edge right here. I personally, there's like this tiny thing at the edge. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I like to cut that off a little bit. To apply the glue, you will be applying it on this lash band right here. You apply a generous amount on that band right there. So I'm using the dual glue for this step, and this is what it will look like when you're done with that. And you're just going to leave this to dry down a little bit before you apply it. You don't want it to be too dry though. So while we leave that to dry down, we're going to go ahead and apply some mascara, and the one I'm using today is from Maybelline. You're just going to generously apply this on your lashes. So you want to look down and just use that to comb the lashes from the bottom part like so. Alright guys, so this is what I mean by tacky. The lash is now ready for use, and it's not too dry as you can see, but at the same time it's not too wet, if that's the word. So we can go ahead and apply that now. So I'm gonna head to glue this one down off camera, so we'll just go ahead and do this one together. So you want to hold your lash with your tweezers, or you could use your fingers, whatever it is you're comfortable with. Get a smaller mirror and then look down, and you go ahead and place that at the edge if you'd like. You can start from the middle. I like to start from the middle most of the time. I just place that on my lash line and be as close as possible to the lash line. Then you hold it for a couple of seconds, maybe for like 10 seconds, or count 1 to 10 or whatever it is in your mind, and then you start placing the edge as well, same way you did the first and middle part, and you hold that down for 10 seconds, count 1 to 10, keep looking down, and then we go ahead and fix the remaining parts. And trust me, lashes is one of the parts of makeup that will frustrate you. This one takes practice and patience, you guys. Even with practice, there are still some days where I fight with my lashes like I'm a newbie to makeup. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you just have to be patient with it. Reapply the glue if you need to. And to be honest, plead the blood of Jesus, babies. Because sometimes either reapplying, either placing, trying every trick that you know, it still won't work out. So yeah. You need the blood of Jesus, you guys. I use the blood of Jesus for everything. So the last step is to go ahead and lock that. You want to lock this with your natural lash, just so that we do not see any demarcation between your lash and the false lashes that you have on. So go ahead and use your fingers and just press it in together. And you could also go ahead and use your mascara to also lift that up as well. Alright, so eyes are done and we're going to move on to the rest of the face. I know some of you are probably wondering like, when are we going to do the brows? But don't worry, you guys, it's coming. I like to do my skin work first before I do my brows. It's just me. You could go ahead and do your brows now or even do it before the eyeshadow, but this is how I flow these days. So yeah, as we can see, oil is already seeping from the skin, oily skin issues, but we don't have a problem with that. We're just going to go in with a clean tissue and use that to blot out all those excess oil. So we're moving on to primer, and for that I'm using my e.l.f. Hydro Green Primer. I think this is everybody's favorite drugstore primer at the moment. So we're going to use my finger and just apply a little bit of that on the places that I like to prime, which is majorly my T-zones, the area that, you know, I tend to get oily. Type of primer that you use depend on what you're going for. It also depends on the finish that you're going for. We have some hydrating primers, we have some mattifying primers. I tend to lean more towards the mattifying primers or somewhere in between both primers, just because I have oily skin. So whatever it is that you're going for depends on your skin type and the finish of what you're going for as well. So this is what we have after leaving it to settle in for a little bit. And this one I'll definitely say is not a mattifying primer, but hear me out. I feel like my oily skin girls can still use this one. I've been using this primer for a while now and I really like it. I just feel like it gives me a comfortable finish that I like. So for foundation, we're going to be using one of my absolute favorite drugstore foundations, and I haven't used this one in a while. So when I saw it today, I'm like, yep, we're going to be trying you out one more time. This is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation, and I have this one in the shade Deep Reach. So I like to apply this with my fingers first and then go ahead and spread it out with a brush when I'm done with that. And I'm hoping this one is going to be my shade. And to blend that out, I'm going to go in with this brush. I like to use this kind of brushes to blend out my foundation. And you just want to go ahead. Ooh, that's looking very red though. I hope this works out because I haven't used this foundation in a long time, and I think I used to mix two shades, but these days I've been liking matching my foundation to my neck because my neck is darker than the rest of my face and my chest. So matching it to my neck is better than, you know, matching it to my face. By the time I apply my concealer and the rest of my makeup, you guys will see what I'm talking about. But anyways, you just want to tap that in. The undertone is definitely pulling up very red, but we'll see how this turns out. So just keep tapping your foundation in. You don't want to drag for coverage. You want to tap in. Remember, do not forget your neck. Blend down. This is the only place you're allowed to drag down a little bit, which is your neck area. You want to blend that foundation into your neck, your ears, and your hairline as well. It's okay if it's in your hair a little bit. You can wipe that later when you're done with your makeup, and that's it, you guys. Beautiful, beautiful coverage. Even though I feel like the undertone is a bit off, but we'll see how that goes. And to furthermore blend everything in, I like to go in with my beauty sponge, and I just used a little bit of foundation that I had on my plate. I don't necessarily have to do that, but I just didn't want to waste that, so I'm just going to be using that to make sure that everything is blended in really nice. And you want to be light-handed with this as well, just tapping into smoothing everything and make sure that everything is well melted into the skin. With my foundation, I'd rather go a shade darker than a shade lighter. You know why I said that? Because by the time you apply your concealer and everything, if your foundation is already lighter than your skin, it's just going to be too light when you're done. So it's better you go in with a shade darker and everything balances out nice when you're done with the rest of your makeup. So yeah, let's see. Ooh, this is pulling off really red. I don't know, I feel like when I look at it in person it's not that bad, but on camera it's showing up really red. But let's still see if we can work something out. Make sure you get your right undertone of foundation, you guys. Very important. Don't be like me that just went ahead to apply this one all over my face without cross-checking to be sure that we had the right thing. But anyways, moving on to highlight now. We're going in with my Elegant concealer in the shade Fawn. For the part you highlight, it depends on your face, depends on what you're going for. Highlight basically means that, you know, the places that when light reflects, that's where it's hitting, that's where it's all up in everyone's face. So I like to highlight my forehead right here, a little bit on my chin. You know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and use this under my eyes. Alright, so we're done applying that, and I'm going to leave it to dry down a little bit just because I want some nice coverage over there, and you want to leave that to dry down for maybe 2 minutes to 5 minutes depending on you and the kind of concealer, because you have to be really careful about that as well. Some concealers tend to dry down really fast, and I think this is one of them. I'm not sure, but yeah, we're just going to leave it to dry down a little bit. And let me quickly put this out there in case your concealer is not giving you as much coverage as you want. As long as it's a good concealer, you're probably not just using as much as you should be using. You see those one dot of concealer that we apply sometimes? The honest truth is that is not going to give you coverage. If you want coverage under your eyes, or maybe you want to highlight and be able to see it, you need to apply the products. Don't worry, don't be scared to apply. You will blend it out and everything will look seamless. I'm not asking you to add so much products and look crazy, but you need to apply the concealer. Don't be scared of it, okay? You blend it out and everything will look great. So let's go ahead and start blending. You want to tap into the part that you applied it, and just keep tapping. Don't worry, everything will end up being seamless. Blending makeup actually takes time, and it's a process. You're not going to be perfect in one day. You just have to keep practicing and everything will come together. And be patient. Patience is really important with makeup. So you see how that is blended out really nice, and it just stayed right where we want it to be. That's the look that you're going for. So while we've blended that in place, you can go back in with your foundation brush and just blend the edges of that in, just to make sure that there are no harsh lines, no lines of demarcation. You see what I meant by patience? You just have to keep going back and forth with it. I'm going to do the same for this area right here. Tap right into the spot that we need it to be, and you don't want to over blend. Just blend it enough for it to look seamless, and then go back in and feather the edges with your foundation brush. If you don't want to go in with your foundation brush, this is also a great way to blend that out. You can use the bottom of your beauty sponge and just go around the place that you apply the highlight. You see, for every part that we blend, we go ahead and use the bottom part and just smoothing out those edges, just to make sure that everything looks really nice and seamless. So let's go ahead and blend the under eye. Just keep tapping and focusing on the exact spot that you put it, and then you can spread it out a little bit, just right there. Now we go back into the bottom part and just blend the edges. You don't want to over blend. If you blend too much, you're just going to take off all the concealer. So don't over blend, just blend enough for it to look seamless. Okay, so now that everything is blended in really nice, we're going to move on to cream blush. I would normally go in with my contour shade right now and just cream contour, but we're not going to be doing that today, just because we're beginners and we're going to be skipping some steps because I feel like we could do without them. So we're just going to go ahead and apply a cream blush now, and the one I'm using is from NYX. This is the NYX Sweet Cheeks, and I have this one in the shade Bombshell. And you could smile if you want to, but I already know where my cheekbone is. So I just go ahead and apply that right here. And I'm really generous with my blush, you guys. If you're not a newbie on this channel, you know that we love blush. My blush has to be seen from like 10,000 miles away. I don't care what anybody says. But anyways, you don't have to use as much, just use a little bit, and we blend that out with a brush, just tapping, tapping, tapping. And I also like to blend that into this area right here. Keep blending till everything, you know, looks seamless, basically with the same thing that you do with every other step that we've already done today. Just blend, blend, blend till it's looking good. And I like to spread a little bit of that on my nose using the same brush. I'm not adding more products, just what we have going on. Just going to go ahead and set that with my e.l.f. Stay All Night microfine setting mist. I'm going to be really generous with this and just spread this all over my face. We'll leave that to dry down, and then we go ahead and set with the same Sacha buttercup powder that we use. So for every part where you apply the cream products, you have to set with a powder product just to lock everything in place. To apply the powder, I like to use this puff, and I just use that to take the powder, take off all the excess, tap it at the back of my hand, and we'll go ahead and use that to set. But before then, you want to go back in with your beauty sponge. As you guys can see, we already have some creasing under the eyes from looking, you know, back and forth. So you want to make sure that you smoothing that out first before you set. And most of the times you see those natural lines and natural creasing that you have going on there, no matter what you do, you're still going to have them. But just for the ones that you know is caused from you looking up and down while the concealer hasn't been set, you want to go ahead and smoothen that out before you set that with the powder. So you want to keep looking up and just go ahead and apply that. And you're going to go in with tapping motions and be really light-handed with that. So just go ahead and put that in there. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for this under eye. Take the powder that you want, tap off the excess, tap at the back of your hand so you can take off all those excess products. Remember, go back in with your beauty sponge. You see the line I'm talking about, this one that was caused from, you know, looking back and forth, looking up and down, sorry. So you just smoothing that out. And for this eye, I tend to have more creasing on this my right eye just because I already have some natural lines over there. So I tend to do like a lifting up technique to get the concealer inside right there. And then same thing with the powder as well. I go in with that and use that to lift that under eye, just to make sure that I can get the powder into the natural lines and folds that I have going on there. Now I like to go in with a little bit of the same powder on my smile lines as well, just to keep that in check. I know that they'll be revealing themselves before the end of this makeup, and to be honest, I'm no longer bothered by my smile lines because everything I do to them, they still end up showing up. So yeah, we're embracing them now. It is what it is. Going to move on to bronzer, and for that I'm using my Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Palette, and I have this one in the shade Dark to Deep. I'll be using this shade in the middle right here. Going in with this brush, and I like to apply it right here, kind of like the same place where my blush is on this. Is it my cheekbone now? Says my cheekbone, that I like to apply that just right here. Take it all the way to the edge right here as well. So the places that you highlight and contour, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it. If I have, great. If I haven't, this is just me reinforcing what I said. The place that you highlight and contour on your face depends on the shape and structure of your face. So contouring is just like keeping in shadows, and highlight is like, you know, highlighting, basically what the word means. So it all depends on the structure of your face. So for contour, like I said, is to keep in shadows, and for bronzing is to just add some warmth back to your face, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm bronzing, no contouring. So you're just adding some warmth back to your face. I'm going to be using the same contour palette to add some definition to the nose, just to give it some structure. Moving on to blush, to set that, we're going to be using the e.l.f. blush palette. This is a very, very nice blush palette. This one has like 4 colors in there. This is a great one. I always end up going back to it every single time. I think this one is in the shade Dark. I'm going to find the shade and have it In my description box, I'm going to be using this shade right here, and we're just going to apply this on the same place that we already applied the cream blush, just to set that area as well. I already told you guys how extra I am with blush, right? So don't be surprised at how much blush I'm just packing and packing on my face, you guys. Blush is life, blush is everything, okay? Don't argue with me. I'm not even going to argue with you either. So now we set the rest of the face, and for that we're using the L'Oreal Infallible powder. This is a foundation in powder, and I have it in the shade Deep Amber. I'm going to use this fluffy brush that is also from Shein and tap off all the excess and just use this on the remaining parts of the face. I also like to use this to blend the highlights right here. Take it all the way to set the remaining place. Don't forget your neck is really important. Don't forget all this area so that we do not see no lines of demarcation. Take it over the highlight on your forehead just to furthermore blend that in. Moving on to brows, and for that I'm using my Maybelline Ultra Slim Brow Pencil in the shade Black Brown. I like to brush up my brows first, and for this part I personally don't do too much on my brows. I just follow what we have going on there and just, you know, take it from there. Brows are filled in. Let's go ahead and clean up using the Early Girl concealer, and I have this one in the shade Toast, and I'm going to be using this this flat brush from Yanga Beauty. I'm going to have it linked in my description box. This one is not a drugstore product, you guys, but this is one brush that I can only use for my brows. So brows are done. Now remember that brush that we used for our transition shade? I'll just use that to lift this area right here just to bring back that shade right there. Moving on, we're going ahead to blend out the under eye a little bit more, and for that I'm using my Maybelline Fit Me powder, and I have this one in the shade Toffee. The goal is to go in with a powder that is close to the shade that you used for your under eye. So this one looks close to it for me, so I'm just going to tap that in, tap off all the excess because you don't want so much of that. You want to be really light-handed with this. Now we're going to go in with another puff and the same powder that I used to set my face all over. We're going to take a little bit of that and tap off all the excess at the back of my hand so we don't have too much. And now we're going to use that to blend the edges in so we do not see no harsh line, and then we take it across the nose from one edge to the other just to make sure that there's no harsh line or any line of demarcation between the highlights, the bronzer, and you know, the highlight on the nose basically, and the highlights right here. Everything looks good now. I'm just going ahead to line my waterline with this black pencil from Absolute New York. You guys, if you're looking for good and very dark black pencils, I'll say try out the beauty supply store. I did get this one from the beauty supply store, and they really have good liners in there, so you might want to give it a try if you're looking for affordable black liners. Some mascara for the under eyes as well. Alright, we're almost done. Let's go ahead and move on to lips. For that, I'm using the Maybelline Super Stay, and I have this one in the shade Protector. You can use a lip liner, but I personally like to use lip stains to line my lips because I feel like they give me the definition that I like. So let's just go ahead and use this. So we're done lining, and we're going to go ahead and apply a lipstick. This is from Milani. I have it in the shade 69. Let's go ahead and top that with the NYX Butter Gloss, and I have this one in the shade Praline. So here comes the part that I like to call the finishing part. I just go ahead and use my powder and just, you know, blend everything out. Make sure that everything is blended in really nice, and I go back again to reinforce the blush. Let's finish that off with a setting spray. Alright, you guys, so we're done. I'm just going to go get my hair together and I'll be right back with you guys. So that pretty much brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you found today's video helpful and you learned something new. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope I was detailed enough. I tried as much as I could to simplify the steps and make it as detailed as possible. So I hope so. Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to have the list to everything that I used today written in my description box. The ones that I can find on Amazon, I will have them linked on my Amazon. Is it on or in now? I'll have them linked in my Amazon storefront as well. So if you made it to this point, thank you so much for sticking around with me. Do not forget to hit on the subscribe button, join the family. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.